We poor devils shoveled the snow away on all sides and took our hats off every time the aristocrats arrived. They didn't even look at us, although I still smell the perfume that came to our noses. We were about as important to them, or to that matter to Vienna, as the snow that kept coming down all night, and this hotel did not even have the decency to send a cup of hot coffee to us. I resolved that night that someday I would come back to the Imperial Hotel and walk over the red carpet in that glittering interior where the Habsburgs danced. I didn't know how or when, but I waited for this day, and tonight I am here." His rapt listeners applauded his story of the once-forgotten man who had turned the world upside down. Few people in history had come from so little or risen so high in such a short period of time. Now, on the evening when Adolf Hitler united his adopted country of Germany with his Austrian birthplace, his thoughts turned not to celebrations but to vengeance. They were not directed toward Karl, who died in 1922, or Zita, who lived in Belgian exile. Instead, they fell on the royal orphans of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, the man whose 1914 assassination sparked the First World War. Shortly before Hitler arrived at the Imperial Hotel, Duke Maximilian Hohenberg, the Archduke's oldest son, his wife and 5 children fled the same hotel to go into hiding. Within hours of Hitler's return to Austria, the Duke would go from being the human face of the state to being denounced as an enemy of the state and exchange his palace home for a Nazi prison. His fall from grace was as dramatic as Hitler's rise to power. Adolf Hitler and his Nazis had an enemies list of thousands of Austrians to be liquidated. Within weeks, 79,000 arrests were made, but the first 2 men the Gestapo arrested, deported to Germany, and imprisoned at Dachau were not Jews, Czechs, or the foreign immigrants Hitler denounced and demonized. The night of his greatest triumph, the first 2 Austrians the Fuhrer ordered arrested were Maximilian and Ernst Hohenberg, the sons of Franz Ferdinand. He told Hermann Goering and Heinrich Himmler to show them no mercy, a challenge the competitive rivals readily embraced. Following Austria's seizure, Hitler also ordered the Gestapo to undertake a more clandestine mission. Gestapo agents were told to help the Jewish doctor who cared for his late mother in her last fatal illness to immigrate to the United States. 2 Jewish officers he served with in the First World War were also provided his personal protection. Like his family doctor, they were allowed to escape the Holocaust he would soon unleash on Europe's Jews. Hitler's infamous anti-Semitism could be selective, but he was unwilling to show mercy to Franz Ferdinand's sons. The hatred directed toward them was more personal than Hitler's animosity toward their dead parents or his aversion to the millions of innocent victims about to die in his name. Yet even as the arrests of the Hohenberg brothers made headlines in Europe and America, the women who loved them would fight back. Their wives, sister, and female allies would wage an unrelenting guerrilla war against the Nazis in Vienna, Prague, and Berlin to free them. Hitler and his Gestapo would be up against the intelligence, strength, and resilience of women motivated by love, as much as the Nazis were motivated by hate. The seeds for Adolf Hitler's vendetta against the vanished Habsburg Empire, the dead Archduke, and his royal orphans were planted even earlier than his snowy encounter with the Habsburgs at the Hotel Imperial. Shortly before Hitler's birth in the Austrian border town of Braunau am Inn, Crown Prince Rudolf, the 30-year-old charismatic heir to the Habsburg throne, died by his own hand, or by assassination. The government's clumsy cover-up made the truth elusive. England's ambassador spoke for many when he exclaimed, "It is all mystery, mystery, mystery." The Habsburg Empire, the linchpin of Central Europe for 600 years, never fully recovered. Emperor Franz Joseph had only one son, Rudolf, no daughter.